Hello, everybody. Old Buck Dave back again with Old Buck Dale. I think we got Old Buck Dale here.
Yeah, old Buck Dell is right here, hanging in there.
Episode 145 of Two Old Bucks. As Dave slowly claws his way back to life, I'm proud to announce that I've tested negative for COVID for the first time yesterday. So that's a good thing. My voice is getting a little stronger. Boy, I listened to the last episode and like, was I whispering or what? So I want to thank all the folks who sent me the get well notes and the card, not cards, but electronic notes. So thanks. I appreciate that. So what's going on in your world here?
Well, uh, I was thinking, of course, that's a red flag, right? As soon as I say,
Wait a
soon as I
minute.
say,
Thinking.
as soon as I say that, I've been thinking. Our logo is two old bucks, and I'm convinced that that was probably a good handle for us because every day we get closer and closer to achieving the old part.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
we're
so
going to
all
be old
this,
someday.
all this
We're going to get old. Who knows?
all this stuff is going on. So one of the things I was thinking about there, I said, there's quite a bit going on with, peripheral friends that we've known for a long time, at least for me, that running into some old age issues. And I said, I wonder who's going to take care of me in my old age.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a legitimate thought.
That's a legitimate thought.
That's a legitimate thought. And I said, all right. So I think I mentioned maybe in a past episode that I did ask my wife very seriously if she would do that, being a little bit younger, on the assumption, that the younger person would always outlast the older person.
Yep.
Okay. And she very kindly said, yes, she would if I did one thing. And
always a catch, isn't there?
Yeah, it seemed like, maybe if I would, clean the garage out or something like that. That's what I was expecting.
You wish, yeah.
Yeah, or get rid of all your junk before you get old or something. But all she said was, I will take care of you in your old age if you keep your mouth shut.
Ooh.
And I said to myself, that's not going to be easy because I made the mistake the other day of interfering while she was cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I pointed out a method I thought was going to be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And she
laid down
right there. Yeah, big mistake.
Big mistake.
She laid down her tools and said, "Okay, you're in charge of now." Mm-hmm. I said, "Oh no." So I quickly bowed and mea culpa'd and got away from that. And then and something else prompted a response. She tends to criticize my the way I wash dishes. When if I'm cleaning up the kitchen, which is sort of I take that responsibility now that I'm retired. And I blurted out, well, why don't you just handle the cash and I'll handle the dishes?
Jeez.
So that gave me pause.
Did you really say that?
I really said that. I said, I said, wonder how I assumed that I said, okay, this will be the least of the problems. If I could just deal with the dishes myself, I'll take care of all this. Thinking that's something I probably never thought I'd ever say, So I'm thinking this. Well, I'm thinking about all this old, getting old because
it's going to happen. Yeah,
it's going to happen. And I saw some situations fall apart over time where one spouse was losing it, and I'm talking to the spouse that's losing it. He's telling me it's the other spouse that's losing it.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going, so I really, really was thinking about that. And I guess not a warning, but I'd be curious if anybody else had any thoughts or any secret ideas on
secret sauce on
how you work all this out. I mean,
how do you navigate it, right?
Yeah. BUCKSTWOOLD.
BUCKSTWOOLD
gmail.com or ask us what we think or
drop us a voicemail on the speak pipe there.
Because that's to me, that's a pretty interesting subject. So along with my pondering about that, I've been amused by the latest furor over UFOs.
Yeah, talk to me.
Well, they changed it to UAF, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena.
Wait a minute. Phenomena starts with a P. Can't be UAF. Oh, that's right. You're not a great speller. Okay.
To me, it's always going to be UAF.
You're going to be UAF.
No way you could pronounce phenomena without the F. It's phenomena.
Okay. All right. I'll let that go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they changed the word in the name. I don't know.
So have you been following how serious they're taking this?
I've been, there's been, I've been, I listened a little bit to these three guys in front of Congress. There's a lot of hand waving. He said, she said, I heard. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. They're still not really giving us any information.
And I think I commented, I thought this was like the subject was over. I mean, but now they've created another entity with a different title. And I said, how could they keep any kind of a secret in the government after all these years? People come and go. You're going through your grandfather's, chest in the attic, and all of a sudden you pull out all these films. Some way to document all this stuff that maybe is true. So I have a theory.
Okay.
I have a theory that the people in government who are involved in this or paid to do this have discovered that there is nothing, there's nothing to tell. There really is. These things are, if they're anomalies, they have to do with light, cameras. When I say to you, see that bird flying around in the sky, I say, see that bird there going circling around in the sky there? And you say, no, that's not a bird. That's those floaters in your eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my thought is that they've just said, let's just perpetuate this because we get funding for it, or as long as we can pretend that there are such a thing, we'll just keep denying it, and it'll just take a life of its own, which it sounds to me like it did. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just sounds like it assumed a life of its own. More they want to know, why can't we tell? Well, I know where the plane crashed, but I can't tell you in public. Or certain people have, there's always some piece of information that's left out.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my theory is that that's the case, and these folks that are doing this are paid well, and they simply are probably playing golf because they don't care. They don't care what these things are. I
think the people that are reporting this are not in the government. They're, they're independent individuals. I guess, I don't know.
Well, even if they are, do you believe in unidentified flying objects? I do. I think there are things that fly that we can't identify.
I've come around. I believe that there are things that we have not identified.
Right. I believe there's, so no one else in the world owns it. No one else claims anything. I mean, I thought, wouldn't it be funny if North Korea, if those guys were listening to our podcast and they said, hey, why don't we just say that those things are part of our weapons inventory or something? I said, that would scare the heck out of everybody, even though it's not true. Somebody could pull that off. Maybe somebody in Britain would say, hey, yeah, we've been flying them things for years.
Or so, there was a period where we were pretty convinced that Boris, what's his name? Boris Johnson was an alien. I think we do have aliens sprinkled around here.
Now that's my other conclusion. That's my other conclusions. Other than being a sort of a fictitious thing that people are perpetrating just to have it funded, if you could be a colonel in the military and get stationed in a nice tropical environment on the UF or UAP, as you say, committee, that would be a pretty good deal. You know what I mean? You don't really have to do anything because nothing to prove. But I think the aliens a long time ago, if they had, and as far back as the 1950s or 60s, I believe they've already transferred away from flying devices. I think they said this flying thing is too hard to conceal. So the aliens switched to driving. And you can always...
Well, they're all driving in Florida then, I got to tell you.
That's all you can
Nobody
tell.
knows how to drive down here, man.
No, aliens do not use turn signals. So that's how you will know.
That's how you'll know.
That's how you'll know.
They stop in the middle of the traffic circle, the roundabouts.
Exactly.
That's another favorite.
Aliens cannot navigate those
they don't
traffic
get
circles.
They don't get it. Jeez.
You know, my mind is really spinning over those thoughts.
Hey, listen, you want to spin? I got a story for you.
Tell me the story.
Which is, this is my 1960s UFO story, which I have never said out loud before.
Oh, this is between you and me then.
This is between just the two of us. Yeah.
It's the two of us.
And our three listeners.
Yeah.
Okay? So listen, the five of us. Okay. So I was in college. It was probably like a Friday night or Saturday night. Sitting around with my buddies, probably drinking coffee, or at least something. We were drinking something. I'm going to say coffee. And the one fella told us a story about his said, you know, I got an uncle in the CIA. And we were talking about UFOs and that sort of thing. And he said, you know, he got really drunk one night at a party at our place. And he said, oh yeah, we got the bodies, we got the craft out and crashed out in the desert, you know, that old story. He said, oh yeah, it's all true. It's all true. He said, they just don't want us to know. So I don't, you know, was his drunk uncle messing with him? Probably, I don't know. But anyway, that's a story that a guy told me back in probably like 1968, 67, something like that.
And you notice too, I've never had anybody sort of admit to being associated with anybody associated with that. I mean, I'm not, but it's strange things. They never crash except in deserts. You know,
yeah,
it's like these guys can't they find a populated area? What are they observing in it for zooming over the desert? There's always some strange, unanswered question that we can never find a person to ask it to make the puzzle, which is where they are now. But they're making quite a big deal of it. I guess a lot of press out of it. Do you ever watch Cuomo? News Nation?
I do not.
Tell
me about Cuomo. Is that
I flipped
the guy
on him.
Who used to be on CNN?
Yeah, he used to be on CNN. He's very animated, and he's into this. He asks a lot of hard questions, but I think the theme of his program, he's going to give a voice to the other side. You know what I mean? He brings people on that are pro UFO, and they answer the same way to him too. You know, it's we've told the appropriate people that they need to release this, and I can take you to the crash site, but they won't let me in or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of it. They're demanding transparency, and I frankly think that when they do, they'll just say, "What are we even wasting money on hunting for these things for?"
Could be. Who knows? I don't know.
So that's my theory. We'll see if North Korea owns up to owning those things.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's move along to some other topics here. I got a couple little hits here. First of all, we put out the challenge to solar cooked pasta, and of course, old Buck Terry was right there. So sent us a link to a website where you can cook pasta in an oven in the sun. He had, you know, it was all the directions and everything. I'm still waiting for some actual experiments. I'd like to see somebody report and said, yeah, I tried this and it worked or it didn't work. So anyway,
I believe it will work. Just that is a science experience, or maybe if you were unable to make a fire, of course, in the sun in this weather, the way it is now, I guess you could probably burn anything.
Burn anything, yeah.
But I think it's just a question of time. If you had to wait 3 hours for your 2 cups of pasta to get al dente, you know, it's easier to just dial up DoorDash or something and they'll deliver it quickly.
Okay. hey, we got a couple birthdays.
We're celebrating a birthday. Who's got a birthday?
Well, Mick Jagger turned 80. Okay. So here's somebody, he's older than we are, which is great. Okay. So I got a note from Vintage Vixen Nancy. This is one of our loyal listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as everybody else, she does have a life-size cutout of Mick in her bedroom. Okay. And she said, I sang happy birthday to him. And she said he really liked it. He really appreciated it. So way to go, Vintage Vixen Nancy, and
But what
enjoy
if
your relationship with Mick.
What if you you have that and you believe your grandchildren, should inherit it? How would you, when your grandchild opens that up, rolls it open, and there is a picture, and who is this guy?
Who is this? Who is this?
And who's here? Who's around
Sure.
that could explain it to me?
Yeah,
Who could possibly be?
Yeah, that reminds me of something I'm going to talk about later, actually, a book report. But you just tweaked my brain there. Hey, we got another birthday too, even more important than Mick Jagger's. This is one of our loyal listeners, Vintage Vixen Jean. She just had a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Jean. I worked with Jean a long time ago when she was like a North American business manager for a German refractory company. She's had her own company for quite a while now, and she works in the thermal spray industry. So she's she's toughing it out there. It's this hard metals, refractory, thermal spray. That's kind of a guy's world, and I think she's been one of the pioneers there. She's hung in there. She knows her stuff. She's really smart. She gets the job done. So happy birthday, Jean.
Big shout out to there.
Big shout out to Jean.
Yeah. I heard you got in touch with old Buck Jim actually touched base with us.
I did hear from old Buck Jim. Yeah, he talked about the last episode that we did, Norway Part 2, and he commiserated with me on coming back with COVID. He said, my family went to Ireland. My wife and I came back with COVID. Same thing. I've heard from several people now that have said, yeah, I was in so-and-so and I had to fly home. I had COVID, I got sick, or came home. I think I mentioned my son's family. 2 of them came back from Iceland with COVID. So I don't know what's going on across the pond there, but
I'm thinking that the airports they tend to congregate people.
Oh yeah,
you never know. And but anyhow, big shout out to. I'm glad he made it back. Big shout out to old Buck.
Yeah,
Jim, it's somebody we've known for many, many years. If he's listening to this one, we wish him the very best. Certainly,
yeah, absolutely.
He's probably about the 7 too, isn't he?
He's right around there. Yeah, he's right around there. And he's full of piss and vinegar. I got to tell you, it was fun talking to him. It was really fun.
Yeah, I have a as we're bouncing around here today on subjects.
We are bouncing around.
Yeah, we are bouncing around.
Okay.
And again, this would be a classic coffee shop conversation. Did you notice the heat? If we were walking to the coffee shop like we often do, we definitely would have noticed the heat.
Did I notice the heat?
Yeah. Have you noticed the heat?
Wow.
And all the ramifications of that.
For the 2 minutes that I go outside every day, I definitely notice the heat. Oh,
well, man. I wanted to add some content to that, other than the normal, sweating or whatever. Or in my case, I have to keep myself long sleeve shirt on, otherwise I'll burn. But they was talking about this weather changes, corals. It changes where ticks and creatures that normally can't go too far north. Ones that thrive on this kind of temperature are proliferating. In fact, in Florida, they had several cases, 6 or 7 cases of malaria.
Right in our area, just in our area.
I am telling you. And I'm thinking, now, if that got out of hand, you can't hardly tell the difference between that and every other virus you get. I mean, that's almost the same symptoms. You'd have to have a blood test.
Except it never goes away. It just keeps coming back.
The parasites in your blood or something. You have to really diagnose that and take some pretty harsh medication to treat that. So I thought that was another twist on this heat thing. And then, of course, the little bit of a sea breeze, I think, helps us. But those folks up north they're getting baked.
They're cooked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hottest month on record.
Yeah.
Did you hear the UN Secretary General? He said we've moved from global warming to global boiling.
I laughed. Yeah. And we tend to think selfishly about that. On the latitude that we live on, you think, well, maybe it's just me and my neighborhood, or what you see on our maps. But if it's across the middle of the globe, and some of those places don't even have air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I
So
mean,
nasty.
the stones and sidewalks and buildings, and God forbid you live on the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Hey, there's still people that say it's really not happening. We got a report from Chautauqua, New York, just yesterday, I guess. Remember Mike Huckabee? He was the former governor of Arkansas,
I
presidential
do.
candidate. Yeah. Well, he was, he made a presentation up at Chautauqua. They
have speakers.
They have speakers from different parts of the political spectrum in the globe around the world, and he said, "Hey, it used to be this hot back in the '90s. I remember." He said, "This is nothing." I can't believe he said that, but he said that.
He thinks it's nothing. Well, imagine this. I'm going to expound on this one. Imagine if it's this way every summer,
mm-hmm.
and there is no winter, or there is a winter that's just as bad as the heat. In other words, when this thing finally does cool down, whenever the Earth twists around or whatever it does to get this winter, if we don't have a winter and we have no snow melt, now we're talking incremental steps to a very difficult food production and coping. I worry about that sometimes.
Implications are everywhere. Yeah, yeah. And you see up in Halifax now, they're having their worst rain in 50 years. Cars are floating down the street. It's crazy. I know we've got a strong listener contingent in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we're wishing you all the best up there.
Well, what if this is the new normal? What if it's one of the 3 summer months or something? You get 2 months rain in 48 hours, and you have to go through that. I mean, no one would want to live near a stream. You'd quickly find out where the low area was.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
So
yeah. This is no joke. It's no joke. It's we're in the midst of it, and as I said before, we're not going to do the preventive things. That's too boring, and but we're going to do a lot of Band-Aids. As they're painting the sidewalks now with anti-reflective paint to take the temperature down. That's just a Band-Aid. It's just a Band-Aid. That's not dealing with the issue. But we're sounding pretty like grouchy old men here, so which we are, I guess.
Actually, the heat is making me grouchy. I mean, if I sound that way, it is making me grouchy because I'm spending more and more time jumping from shadow to shadow than I would be outside, maybe playing golf or something that had more exercise. But hey, it is what it is. And one of the solutions that I just thought of was they want to plant 1 trillion trees.
Trillion trees.
Right. And I don't think we'll ever catch up to the deforestation in the Amazon quick enough.
Wow.
To get the first tree in the ground, to have one of them big enough to absorb any carbon dioxide at all. So we'll see. Our days are basically numbered, so we may see what it's like near the edge, and we can we'll say, oh boy.
There you are. There's your silver lining again. Huh?
No, I'm sometimes I get pretty gloomy over the whole subject.
I know. We got kind of a gloomy podcast here today. Other than the birthdays, come on. And hey, I got a couple of book reports if we want to shift gears a little bit here.
What have you been reading?
What do you do, Dave, when you're on your back? You read some books. Yeah. So I just finished 2 good books. The first one is called Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life by William Finnegan. And it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, by the way. And it's a story about his lifelong obsession with surfing and being away from home for years, literally, chasing waves, living out of a car, living out of a tent, doing what he can just to chase the waves. And he says, he's not the greatest, best surfer in the world. He knows his limits, but he just loves that perfect wave that's out there. And it was a fascinating story. Probably the least fascinating part for me was when he got into the discussion about, you know, the waves breaking this way and that way, and this, and then it comes around here. You know, it was hard for me to visualize a lot of that, but all his discussion of working his way through this stuff and the people he met along the way and the experiences he had. I mean, he lived like all over the world, wherever there were waves, he'd plop himself there. Some place he'd be like for 2 years at a place. And so it was really, really interesting. You know, along the way, he bought a stack of old New Yorker magazines. I think he paid like a penny each or a dime each for them. And he and his buddy, he always generally had a buddy with him, 2 or 3 different guys over the years. But they would read these stories out loud to each other as amusement. Okay, there was no TV or anything, and they would comment on the you know, the quality of the writing and that sort of thing. And he started writing stories for surfing magazines and that sort of thing. And then one day he wrote an article, he submitted it to the New Yorker, and they accepted it the following week and published it. How's that go? How's that go?
That impressed me. That right there impressed me. He got away with that.
Yeah. Now he's written for the New Yorker for a number of years now. He was a war correspondent. He did lots of hairy stuff over the years. Okay, so he really is an excellent writer. And of course, you know, the book won a Pulitzer Prize here. Fascinating story.
So my take, Dave, on this is, if you're going to live a life like that, have writing skills. That seems like everybody that can do this, that we hear about, always has the writing skills. Everybody that might have done the exact same thing, that didn't write about it.
His buddy was a writer too, and he was getting stuff published along the way. Yeah,
sharpen that pencil up, buddy.
So I did. I left this on I finished this book when I was in Norway, and left it on a bookshelf in a hotel bookshelf, kind of a hotel library up there, with the hope that somebody will pick it up and read it. It's a great story.
Did you leave your phone number in it?
I did not leave. I left yours.
Yeah, that would be like you to do that. Yeah,
I left yours. Yeah. Hey, and the other book I just finished a day or two ago was Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. You remember
Doerr? I know Doerr. Yeah.
All the light we cannot see. Kind of really one of the best books I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a real fascinating story. It's a story about stories. Okay, and it takes place in 3 different time periods. We've got five protagonists over time. The one time period is in the 15th century in Constantinople, in that area, having to do you know, around the Battle of Constantinople and that sort of thing, and young people that were on both sides of that thing. There was a present day piece where you've got one particular fellow, Zeno, who's he's in his 80s in the present day. And then there's the third segment is, and then also there's Seymour. He's kind of a semi-autistic, disturbed kid who makes some bad decisions. And then there's the third segment is in the future. Takes place on a spaceship, headed out to a star, headed out to a planet, because the Earth has kind of been environmentally wrecked, to go with the theme we were talking about. So I really liked it. I'd give this Barbarian Days is a 4 out of 5. This is a 4.5 out of 5. The only knock I have on this is the chapters were too short. He's really bouncing back and forth, and I kind of understand why he's doing it that way, but just when I'm getting into the meat of a character, and then he shifts to somebody else. But
do you have a hard copy of this? Do you have a hard copy?
I have a hard copy. It can be yours.
I was going to say that has to be mine, because I like his writing, and that'll I need a book for a little book club I belong to, and I think that'll be perfect fit. So
and it's just fascinating how he eventually weaves all this together. And it's all connected. It's all connected, and it's just. It's really fascinating.
I like it already. I'm going to give it a 5-star just by what you're telling me. That's just the way I like a story.
I was just looking at a review in the I think it was the New Yorker last night, to see if they agreed with me. And they said, I thought, the thing that jumped out at me is they said he writes children's books for adults. Okay. They're nice stories that all make sense. You know, they're like, and he writes about, you know, as in All the Light We Cannot See, he writes about younger people. And it's really, I think he's just a great writer. I was a little taken aback. I was a little confused at the beginning with the people bouncing around and who's this and what's this. And, but it all comes together. It all comes together. And it's all about praising the written word and books and saving books and taking books through the ages and the knowledge they impart.
One of the things I noticed talking to other readers was when there was a question in your mind, if you didn't like a book or liked a book, many people immediately check after a few chapters or something what the reviews were. And I noticed that every time we talked about a book, they'd say, well, I read a couple chapters and then I went and looked at the reviews. You know, like they were either trying to corroborate what you were thinking, or you wanted to see somebody else had another take on it you might be missing. So that's a very, I do that myself. Is like, well, I wonder what the other guys thought. I wonder what the professionals thought of this. I liked it. And, hey, I definitely want that. I want to read. That's something.
You got it.
I look forward
It is yours.
We'll hook up. We'll exchange books. I have one that belongs to you. I'll return that one to you for your library.
All right.
So I had an interesting thing happen to me, Dave.
Talk to me.
And this I attribute to old age. Is I was, I was doing my normal grooming, and I noticed that my mustache was crooked. You know, I've had a mustache.
Oh, you mean you're trimming it wrong, or?
I looked and I moved my facial. Moved the skin on my face around to see if I could get that thing straight. I turned my head and squinted this way and that way. It was crooked, so I tried to correct it. It took me almost 2 weeks to get that thing straight.
2 weeks? What did you do?
Well,
you're trying to
you're trying to straighten it up.
Tilted your mirror, or what you do?
And if you you clearly don't have a mustache. If you had a mustache, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about.
Once you have a mustache.
Once you undercut it,
I'm too good looking to have facial.
It's not like you can pencil it back in.
I can't help it.
You can't pencil it back in. Once you undercut it or you get it out of shape, you have to get like a whole new chalkboard. You need a whole new blank sheet of paper. So you have to grow half the hair in your face to work it down.
This is good that you're doing something in retirement.
I'm telling you, you talk about the things that amuse me when you get old and senile.
Yeah. Doesn't take much, does it? You know what I think?
I'm looking at the time. I'm thinking I talked myself right out of time.
I think we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, in that case.
Well, here's what I think. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your mustache.
What do you think?
Your pencil thin mustache.
A couple more weeks, it'll work out. It'll work out. Trust me. That's what it takes.
Well, okay. Until then, this is Old Buck Dave saying it's been a hoot today, and hope everybody enjoys it. And looking forward to some feedback. Yeah, and Old Buck Dale agrees. Give us your thoughts. If you want us to give us an opinion on something, write to us. Tell us what you think. And if you're suffering from some of the same conditions, we'd like to hear about that too. So Old Buck Dale saying thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.